Hi everybody, Carol here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is probably the last Christmas card I'll make this season. And this one is using a Hampton Arts stamp set for graphic 45. And it's a simple stamp set. I'm just showing you some of the stamps that are in the set, but I'm not going to use them all. I'm going to use the Night Before Christmas, and then the string of toys, and one little design that goes down at the bottom. I think they're flowers, but honestly, it's kind of hard to tell. But anyway, I will be stamping them up with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is a pigment ink, and gives a very nice, clear, crisp line, and that's why I like it for anything with my black ink. It's the sharpest black ink that I've found. But I'm sure there are others out there too. But I'm going to stamp this with my Stamp-A-Majig positioner so that I can get these designs on the right place on the white paper. I cut some green paper, some red paper, some black paper, and then the design is going to be printed on the white paper. And by the time I layer all those stacks of colored paper, the white ends up being pretty narrow actually, so I wanted to be sure this will fit on that little more narrow piece of white paper. So I'm laying it out on the acetate page there, and so that when I stamp it, I can get it as close to the edge as I can and be able to tell exactly where I'm putting it. So I've put the stamp onto an acrylic block, and I'm stamping it up with the ink, and I'll do it on the acetate sheet first and see where it goes. With the stamp positioner, you put the handle up in the corner of the acetate sheet, then you come straight down with your stamp and see where it is, and then that way when you put it onto your white paper, and I'm moving that other sheet of white paper so that I get a good contrast between the white and the green, and I can tell where that white paper or that white cardstock really is. And so I'm lining it up. Now I didn't take this white sheet of paper down this time. I did the next time, because when I put the handle down, you'll see that it won't be holding the white cardstock down. It's off to the edge. So when I remove that acetate sheet, I have to be very careful that I don't move the white, because that's where I have it all lined up in that position. So it turns out okay, but I will do another card, and I'll do a few cards actually, but I will stamp this one down. The next time, I will tape down the other sheet of white cardstock. Now I pushed it down pretty hard, really trying to get a good impression. I didn't push it down hard enough right there in the middle where the night before, the T on the night and the B on the before didn't get printed very well. So I had lined that handle back up, and I had my thumb holding that white piece of cardstock so that I could have come back and restamped, and it probably would have been fine, but I thought rather than take that chance, I'll just get a black pen later and I'll go back and draw in those lines for the T and the B, and I did, and it wasn't difficult at all. So but this time I'm putting the tape down on the second sheet of white cardstock, and so that there won't be any chance. It didn't move the first time, but just so that there wouldn't be any chance of it happening this time. And so I'll restamp again, get this to going, and this time I will try to push a little harder right in the middle of that stamp where there was not a very good impression, and hope that it does better this time. You can always type it. You can always stamp it again if it doesn't work. Just a little bitty sheet of paper there. It's not that big a deal. Just it's nice if it works the first time, and it did. So there we go. Actually, I should say the second time, but it's nice if it works without having to just completely ruin it and do it over again. Now I'm pulling it off the tape and leaving that tape there. that, I'm going to remove it. And then I thought, that has a wet black ink on it. I believe I'll get a tissue to take that off, because if you're like me, you have little black splotches show up on paper and you think, where did that come from? It could have gotten off on the block. It could have gotten off on your fingers or your hand, and you're just not even aware of it, and you'll touch down and there'll be a little mysterious spot that'll show up later. So I was just trying to be proactive there and get that ink off. Now, this one, I'll turn the little acetate paper over into another corner and stamp it up. I'm going to have to put my handle here so I'll know where to line the block up and push it down. It doesn't matter a whole lot just how great this impression is, as long as you have your top line or some mark, the sides, some place it'll mark where you can see well enough where it's going to land on the paper. And in this case, I moved it off to the right because we had the great big Christmas and all the flourishing up there that I needed to move it over, and that's why the spacing was somewhat critical, because there wasn't a lot of room to spare on this. So I put the Night Before Christmas as far to the left as I could, and the little string of toys as far to the right as I could. And so we will line that up with the handle, and I'm really pushing hard this time. Tried a good impression. I didn't get really good up in the upper left-hand corner where the little doll is. There's a little nail holding that. It's either rope or chain, whatever it is, and it was holding the little dolly up. So, but again, it's so easy to fix with a black pen. It was just a little bit, but I'm going to do it again. And yeah, I'm showing where the nail was. It didn't really print out. So this time I'm going to really push up in that upper left-hand corner and get that nail down, and we'll see. And it worked. So there you go. So just keeping on, and don't give up. So here we go. Now then, again, I'm going to take that stamp off, and I'm going to put on the little bitty one. I felt like that it needed something at the bottom of the page, and I didn't really want to write Merry Christmas again or anything else. I thought I just want something small, so that little stamp that's in the set that looks like 4 little flowers, I thought I'll just fill in down at the bottom some with that. And so I'm going to have to stamp it off the way I did with all these others, and so I can get the alignment. I will line it up really centered on the string of toys more than the center of the card, because I played around with it, and I felt like that it looked better that way. And you'll see, because I will show you once I get that stamped on there, and then I will move it around and let you see. And then I moved it over a little bit, because I just I thought it looked a little better moved over. It's still not quite straight, but I'll turn it up there. And I'm holding it down, the acetate and the white paper under it, so that it won't slip. Now I'm straightening it up a little bit better. And putting the handle back on. Some more ink. And then outside of the gluing, it is basically done. I do go back and color, but it's just very simplistic coloring. Just with colored pencils. I've had Prisma colored pencils for a long time, so I still continue to use those. But with a little bit of coloring and this, and gluing it down on these different layers of colored cardstock, I think it makes a nice Christmas card, and it's very vintage looking, and even antique. And so that's always, to me, it's always a nice warm look at Christmas time. So we have one more. I will go ahead and stamp the same little stamp down the bottom of this one, being careful not to get ink on my fingers. And this will be the last stamping job. And again, that ink probably would not have gotten off, but I just didn't want to take any chances. So cleaned that off, lined it up, and gave it a good push. I did actually switch the stamp around. I would say you get a gold star if you notice that. When I put them side by side, you will see the big flower goes off to the right on one side, on one card, and the big flower goes off to the left on the other. I just wanted to see if it made a difference, and it didn't to me. So, but anyway, I just thought I would try it both ways just because I could. So here we go with just a very, very simple coloring. And I didn't even really try to do any shading. A lot of times I do try to do shading, even on the most minimal of coloring, but I thought there was just so much going on, it just wasn't really necessary. So I started out to color both cards at the same time, but I just went ahead and concentrated on one card. I sped this up so that you wouldn't have to watch all of this, and it'd be kind of like watching paint dry. And so, but just to give you an idea, I basically just used red, green, and yellow. I did add a little bit of orange shading to the yellow cat and some of the other. I did put a little bit of color in their hair and so forth. But now on the big, all the ornamentation up there on Night and Christmas, right behind that, on one of the cards, I colored that green because it does look like leaves to me. But then I thought, also it's always very festive to use gold at Christmas time, and I thought that could be gold leaf or who knows what. And so I went ahead and colored the other corner with yellow, just to give a gold look to it. So you can choose which way you like better, and let me know in the comments. But anyway, so then my go-to thing that I do so often, and I haven't done it much during the Christmas season, but it's just to go around and frame out these different colors with a neutral ink. I use it with a makeup sponge, and I put it on and just go around the edges of the red and the white and the green, just to kind of frame it off and give it an edge. And it also kind of gives it a vintage look, as if the paper has yellowed a little bit around the edges. Then I put on my trusty Tombow glue. There are my colors of cardstock. I will let them dry. It goes on a liquidy white, and then when it dries, it turns clear. Doesn't take long at all. And I came back and I was going to put the black down, and I thought, no, the green goes down first, and because it's bigger. So I'll put down the green. Again, I like to use a contrasting color behind what I'm doing so that I can see where it lines up. And so I'll put down the green first. I had to take it up. It was just slightly off, and there is just a slight edge of white showing on that green, and I'm okay with that. And then here's the black, just tiny bit smaller than the green. And again, this kind of glue is repositionable, so if you don't get it down just the way you like it, you can just pull it back up and put it back down over and over again until you get it the way you like it. So there is the red. Here is the colored piece, and there's the yellow up behind the N and the C to represent gold. And so there are two of them. And as I said, this will be the last Christmas card. So you might not want to make it this year, maybe try to make it next year. So here are some different views of it. Thank you again so much for joining me today. It's been my pleasure, and I hope you get some ideas, and always try something new and different with what you have. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.